Good morning, Service Alliance community. How y'all doing today? Brother Doug,
Morning, Zach.
you're actually at work this morning.
Yeah. Getting ready for my annual meeting in the middle of 2025, it feels like, right? Trying to figure these annual. It's my first one. We're ever going to have is our first annual meeting, and I've been putting it off. So, but we'll get there.
Hey, listen, we did our Service Alliance group annual meeting last year's in March, so you're ahead of where we were last year.
Yeah. Let's talk about the first quarter. Can't. It's already done. But it's all good. It's all good. Morning, EJ, Gary, and Eric. Oh, and Mr. Carson.
Yes, indeed. So we're talking. Doug says to me in the pre-roll.
Hold on. Mike is on here, so just be nice.
Doug says, didn't we just talk about this last week? And I said, well, no, we talked about this and we took it from this perspective. He goes, oh. And I said, here's the thing. All these concepts and everything that we talked about at the end of last year leading up to this beginning, they all tie together.
They do.
And so I thought I should clarify that when we're talking about this, you're going to hear a lot of the same stuff, but it's because they all tie together. They all build on each other, and you need all these different pieces of the puzzle to start moving forward. So a lot of that is kind of very similar. So today we're talking about taking an honest assessment, right? We're talking about what tools are you using? How are you using them? Are you planning things out? Are you actually doing the true analysis? Are you doing a SWOT? Are you setting some goals? Are you putting an action plan together? Are you having other people help you with an honest assessment? These things are all important. Yeah, I love it, Mike. It's like vitamins. All these things have to be combined together. And so it's very hard to separate them as topics. They all kind of go all over the place. So,
morning, Andrew. Well, before I go into prayer, because we got some pretty smart people on. By the way, I think Gary and I met at ASCII. Yeah, just confirm that, Gary, because you're the only one like in America that spells it the wrong way. So I'm pretty sure on the name tag, and we shook hands and spoke, that it's the same Gary spelt wrong. Before I pray, leave in the comments how many of you, what percentage of your that's awesome, Gary. I remember you, buddy. Big smile. Hope you have a great year. What's the percentage of your intuition, like in running your business? What percentage would you say your intuition has a part to play in making decisions? So your intuition, your gut. What percentage of your gut leads you in your conversations? And by the way, there is no wrong answer. So high or low. All right, let me open us in prayer. Lord God, it's Monday and the beginning of a new year. We have a new president, and Lord, so many things are changing. And God, so we just pray that you help us remember that you are the constant in the universe. And Lord, we thank you for all that you give us and provide for us. Lord, we ask that we can hear you speak clearly and loudly in areas of our business and personal lives. With the people around us and our strangers, help us learn to love one another and encourage them, and to have a hand passed down to lift them up, and look to your back as a humble servant for someone to take your hand and lift you up. Lord, that picture of brother and sisterhood, of being a mentor and mentee at the same time. Lord, that's the life you call us to live here on earth. And help us remember, Lord, that eternal life is the perspective that we are seeking. So God, we just pray for a great week of impactful relationships. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Yeah, I feel like intuition, Zach, is something that is kind of like controls our clutch and gas. Like we don't think about that when we're driving a standard or other things, right? We don't think about navigating that as well.
I want to show you a little contrast here, and if you know
Yeah.
these guys, this
You feel like
makes sense.
Do you feel like they're both that those are truthful measurements from your perspective, Zach?
I might bump this number up a little more. I might give Mike 1%. But it's he's very into the analytical. Very much so.
Yeah. And so again, I don't think there's a wrong answer there. It's the way your brain is wired.
Of course.
And intuition, right? In the 21 Irrefutable Laws talks about the importance of intuition, which again, in that book, all the chapters that Maxwell's talking about is you can't have great intuition unless you're growing your lid, right? Unless you know your numbers, unless you're invested in your team and you have a sense of a pulse of your team, your community, your customer base. And that's what's going to strengthen your intuition. What would you say intuition, what percentage runs your day-to-day life and business, Zach?
I'd like to say it's 50-50.
Yeah.
I don't know,
because that's what you're striving for?
No, like just being honest about it, I think it's 50-50. Some days it's probably more one way or the other, right? Just the way that my brain is wired, I kind of live in both worlds, and sometimes it's a little bit jarring to bounce back and forth. So how about you?
Like an awkward dancer, Zach? Is that what you're saying? Tripping over your feet a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a reason why I have different planners. I was sharing in the pre-roll that I have 2 different planners coming, trying to figure out what works for my brain. And so I dance between intuition and actual assessment. Love numbers, and numbers make sense to my brain, but sometimes I don't feel like paying attention to the numbers.
Oh, I forgot about that ADHD thing.
Yeah. So sometimes I bounce between the two. I think there is real value in intuition, but I think a lot of your decisions really do have to be calculated. They do have to be measured, especially in business as you're trying to be successful. You kind of can't guess at a lot of that. You can guess at some of I think that this is the direction we're going to head based on the numbers, but you really do have to have a good balance there. I see, and knowing Andrew, I can see that being very true for Andrew as well, the 50-50. So,
and I didn't think a ton and prepare this question, but I agree. I think my intuition is the instinctual way that I lead, but I wouldn't be able to do it if I didn't know my numbers well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like if you're occasionally looking backwards or occasionally checking in on your progress, whether it's improving or reducing, or if you don't know your numbers well, then how effective can your gut be? It's almost like blind luck at that point. So,
it is, and I don't think that works, right? Like,
but just kind of guessing and the vibe in the room type thing.
Yeah, I mean, I just in business anyway, right? Like, I forget what the quote is exactly, but it's essentially like, I don't have luck. I make my own luck, and you
That's
make
right.
your own luck by understanding your numbers, planning accordingly.
Mhm.
And when it's a split decision, then you're
Then the
using your
intuition.
intuition to go,
Yeah,
I'm going to go this way.
sure.
Just based on what I see, what I feel, we're heading this way.
Right.
And so you're creating your own luck in that instance. But you only get
Well,
that through assessment.
but through assessment, as I was going to say, so unless your business has great SOPs, because if you're not consistently running your business or the people in your business aren't consistent, then tracking your numbers are kind of a moot point based on the ebbs and flows of the wind and the inconsistencies of everyone. So strong process and procedure, and then having those real basic KPI numbers that you can look back on. I think those things start to become strong components of building the muscles of your intuition. I'm not really great at like looking at the numbers in the moment and within 10 minutes just kind of going, okay, here's this situation. I've kind of got to look at them a lot all the time and then start noticing trends backwards. So for me, I have a pretty good handle on the last 3 years of this is an example. Action Appliance, I know how we have been doing over the last 3 years pretty intimately. And so now we're talking about maybe expanding into New York. Um, we don't really know that market super well. We're doing some investigation. And at some point, intuition is going to kick in. But knowing all our numbers, knowing our ratio of support to technician staff, knowing our profit margin and our expense line, all those numbers for me kind of fit in like an applied mindset where I think I've got some friends that'll be like, I'm not quite sure about that. Let me pull up the data. And they just got spreadsheets up and they're doing that thought process there live with their dashboard up, with their 3 to 4 reports answering my question, where I think that would be a slow approach for me. So I have to kind of just live the numbers, look at them regularly, and then my gut says, okay, I'm feeling like we're a little top heavy here. I'm feeling like this is going to be a little bit of a slower quarter based on this, and this. So for me, it's an applied number set where Mike said 0.5, it's like any major decision that's going to be made, he knows where all his data is, and he's going to go and do that research right then and there. He's just going to, plan for it, look at it, and make an assessment right there based off of the numbers in front of him. So I can't even imagine how Rob Jones lives life. I mean, does he live straight off data like a robot, or is he just one of those cranky people that just throws darts at a board?
Rob Jones is an older version of me.
Oh, is he? Oh, goodness. Did you say older version?
A little bit.
Oh, okay.
A little bit older. No, so the underlying thing here that you haven't gotten to is you're looking at it, right? Like you are keeping a handle on your numbers throughout the year, throughout the multiple years, and filing that away in your brain. And I'm very similar. Someone asked me numbers for Service Alliance Group the other day, and I rattle them off the top of my head because we have to live in that place. We have to be able to pull that out of the file cabinet and run with it. But there's something going on in the background of what you're doing. And the first thing I want to hit on is back to your point of SOPs and tracking and all the things that we've talked about the past several weeks and months. Like, this applies even to a one-man show.
Absolutely.
If you want to move into a new area, if you
That's
want
right.
to grow your revenue, if you want to be more profitable, even being a one-man show, you need to have some SOPs, because otherwise
Sure,
you can just kind of go with the wind, and that's not necessarily a good thing. the other piece of what's going on in the background is you have people helping you assess. It's not just Doug. It's not just Jay. It's not just the office staff.
We've been talking inner circle for years on our podcast, right? You got to have amazing partners, experts in those different areas, right?
Yep.
Yep.
And you have some experts even beyond that helping you on the accounting, bookkeeping side, on the EOS side, like all that stuff. You have a group of trusted advisors that is much further ahead of you, helping to kind of filter through those numbers. So it is very important to have, if we're taking an honest assessment of our business, to know how to make these decisions, to have people look into those numbers and walk alongside us in that. Right.
And it doesn't need, you don't need a lot of money for that. You just have to have the right people, because sometimes you're paying people anyway. If you're paying a bookkeeper,
right,
just find a good bookkeeper. Don't get cheap. If you're in the Google business of looking for leads, you find an expert like Mike, and then you tip them every month, because you're going to ask 20 questions every time you're on the phone with them. Right. And if you didn't get it, ask it again, and just make sure their friendship is strong enough that they won't think you're a lunatic. But like, I'm going to keep asking until I finally understand. And so I have some really patient people. But I would tell you, my inner circle didn't really develop until just 2 or 3 years ago. Like, I've had people there, but I didn't have the mindset of like, I'm going to make a decision. We're going to do this thing that's kind of big. It's costly. It has a huge impact. Before I do it, I'm checking in. I'm checking in with the finance. I'm checking in with the marketing. I'm checking in with my business friend who does something completely different and get their perspective on it. Right. So that's the intuition of checking in with them as well. Right.
Well, and this is the point. So you do need to assess your business. You do need to understand where you are, but you do need those outside voices to go, but is that the best decision? Or no, if I was in your position, full steam ahead, do it, rock and roll. I'm seeing the numbers. I'm liking the stats. You understand where you are, go for it. Like, having that person be able to help assess.
I guarantee Saul is part of some company's inner circle, because obviously he works for a parts vendor, if you didn't know that. But he's not a guy that's there to sell you parts. He's there to support you, and he wants your business to succeed. And so he calls and he checks in. And Saul's the kind of guy you would ask for possibly anything that's in the realm of what he can do, and not assume he's going to say no. Give Saul a chance, or people like Saul a chance to customize their industry for your business. You might need something that another appliance store business doesn't need, but ask. And when you do that, I've noticed people like Saul get really excited about having clients that are passionate about their business and that are thinking outside the box. Because you know what? Typically, if they're consistent at that effort, they're going to grow their business. And that, for the parts distributor, that's a good thing. But I know Saul well enough that it brings him joy to see people succeed. So if you're in part of the business that if you're a client of Saul's business, you got to find yourself a Saul for sure. That's why we're opening up in Miami, Saul.
I think this plays into a lot of what we're talking about, what helped move into that healthier mindset. And both of us have moved into a healthier mindset over the years, right? Mm-hmm. Like you went from guessing and seat of the pants, and this is the way that we always ran the business, to I think there's a better way. I think we can do this better. So what kind of helped you move into that mindset to be able to assess the business, hold your first annual meeting this year? Like, really, what helped you to go through this process to shift into that?
Well, if I think really back to Zach and Andrew, I I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel like I was capable of doing the job of running a business at that time. Probably like 8 techs, 6 to 8 techs, and 15 employees altogether. I just got the opportunity to do it. How different is that from someone like Andrew, which was an incredible technician and employee to the business he worked for, stepping into the raging waters and starting his own business? Who starts out thinking they're a rock star? So I had to kind of let that imposter syndrome hit me a little bit, and then tell myself, you know what, I'm going to fake it till I make it, and I'm not going to fake it for long. So that's where the questions started happening. If I can find someone that I can trust, just keep asking questions and try to develop strong relationships with those inner circle people, right? So it was just and I don't even want to be an expert in Google AdWords. I don't want it. I want to be able to hang there, but I don't want to be an expert in all of it, So I determined the areas that I think are super important to me that, again, we've talked about this before, the 6 working geniuses, right? 6 sort of traits of personalities, 2 that you find great joy in, 2 that you're good at, but I wouldn't want to do that the rest of my life, and 2 that are frustrations that bring you down. I'm running to and embracing those kinds of traits that fill me with joy. And that is leading people, encouraging people, setting plans in place, setting goals, and trying to galvanize a big picture plan. That's where I'm going to live now for the rest of my career. That means that I have to find other people to fill those other spots and seats in it. And again, back to if you're a small business, find a parts company that's going to partner with you, where their team can do a bunch of lifting for you. And in return, you're loyally going to give them as much business as you can. Don't try to make everyone happy. Find that rock star parts person, agent, right? And let them do a lot of heavy lifting for you so you can trust them. Same thing goes with your bookkeeper. If you don't know your numbers and your bookkeeper seems like they're put out when you call and ask them a couple questions, fire them, and then find somebody better. You may not be able to afford the rock star yet, but you gotta level up in these areas of business. B&I, right? Join a B&I group, dedicate a few hours a month aside so that you can hang out with other business people. Flooring guys, lawyers, insurance people, they're all small business people. Iron sharpens iron, right?
I love your flooring guy, by the way. Such a great guy.
Paul, he's an awesome guy. Absolutely.
Oh, Paul. Yeah. For me, it took crashing and burning out to move into the healthier mindset. It took a little bit of healing and recovery, and then processing through. The biggest thing for me was going to work in other people's businesses, and seeing some dysfunction and seeing some good things too, right? Like seeing the good within those businesses. And so I was kind of able to reflect back to my time at Gordon's and go, oh, man, I really missed the mark there. Like, that was such a bad boss. Like, I now know how my employees felt in that moment. Like, I was such a bad boss in that moment.
Yeah.
Or, oh man, like that was actual leadership. Yeah. All right, cool. So that's why in that moment people were willing to follow along. And so looking back in time through a different lens kind of helped shift, and it highlighted areas that I personally had to grow, right? And so you kind of hit on that is a bookkeeper and a Google person and all this stuff, and you realize like I can't do this all and I need these people. Some of that I instinctively did. I had an in-house bookkeeper. She was almost like a personal assistant, office manager, who could point out the emails that were important, point out the mail that was important, like kept me on track of the numbers. I instinctively hired her. Now, if I could do that intentionally, that would be just even better, right? But instinctively, I hired her knowing that those were weaknesses for me, and I needed someone to help kind of strengthen that. And that's part of assessing. You have to look at you, right? Before you can move into a healthy mindset, before you can take an honest assessment of your business, you have to take an honest assessment of yourself. You have to look at yourself and maybe have your inner circle that you trust around you, because there's going to be some things you don't want to hear, and there's going to be some things that you do want to hear. But you need those people around you to help you take that honest assessment of yourself. And then you can begin to take an honest assessment of your business dealings as well. And so it's a little bit of a journey, and everyone's journey is a little bit different, but you got two different cases here. It took me going to someone else, and it took Doug just being a stubborn Doug and just powering through it and going, I don't want to do this anymore. Like I'm done with this way. I need a better way. So whatever it is, it starts with that introspection. It starts with that honest assessment of ourselves and bringing people around us to help us there. So
I've always enjoyed experiencing people and relationship, and it's kind of cool. I think a lot of times where I've changed and grown, I saw myself in other people, saying and doing things and going, well, that's not healthy, or that's not right. And then recognizing I do the same thing. So the one that I'm 2025, it's not a, what do you call those, New Year's resolution or anything, but something that's kind of, hit that inner bell in my gut, that in my heart, that says it's time to change. That thing. It's like you think about it, you focus on it, you flirt with it, but every once in a while something just hits you hard and you're like, that's it. I like to make jokes. I don't know if you know that. I'm a sarcastic person. Yeah, I'm a little sarcastic, right? And so, you have these tragic moments, like you're huddled in a circle of 8 people talking, and forever and ever, I was the youngest person usually in the circle. And then one day I'm like the oldest person in the circle, and I'm like 48 at the time or something. I'm like, how the hell did that happen? That rocked my world a little bit, that I'm getting old. And so for at least 5 years, I've been playing the sarcastic old jokes, the old man stuff, the, lack of muscle, all that. I'm fulfilling that narrative every time I make the joke. Every time I make the joke. And then I'm at ASTI and I'm watching Dean Landers facilitate a session. And, I'm like, that guy is fit for 175 years old. I mean, it's amazing how, it's, I'm not going to get into the details, but he's a good looking guy in normal size clothes. And I got myself a blood pressure cuff monitor that I got to check now. I have to stop making old people jokes, so think about your own business. If there's something that's bothering you and you make a joke about it and you just try to play it off, that's where that's going to sit forever and ever. Think about your profit margin. Do you have a number that you want at the end of the year? And if you don't hit it, don't try to lie to yourself and make excuses. Identify what didn't work and then keep pursuing that profit margin, so that's what I have to do. I have to stop filling that narrative and lying to myself, or feeding it, like kindling this thing that I don't want to be anymore, so it is all about mindset. And so think about a couple parts of your business that you are maybe annoyed with, ashamed about, that you haven't been able to fix it, just utterly, worn out. Go find somebody for free to help you, to listen to you, to talk with you, to encourage you, to bump you. I just had one with Rob last week. So now I'm gonna see. I was about to say, this is the transition I'm in, Zach. You're witnessing it right now. I was about to say, I'm gonna be like the old man walking the mall for 45 minutes to get my heart rate up. No, I gotta stop saying stupid shit like that, right? I have to just say, Rob and I were on a text, and you were in that group text, and he just said, "It's one step at a time, my friend." And I was like, "Yes." So you can't bury it. You can't be ashamed of it. It's one little bit at a time, But find somebody that supports you, and then eventually you can hire somebody to help you.
And the underlying part of that text message thread, right? Mm-hmm. I had a phone conversation with Rob before I went into the gym. I said, "Hey, dude, like, because we were talking about something, and I'm like, we literally just talked about that on the grind. Go back, watch the grind. Like we were just having that conversation." And then I went to the gym, and I came out of the gym to this thread of like encouragement and like, this is something in my life that I need to change. Thank you for saying that. And just that little 3-person circle, right? Yeah. Like shifting to living the poster out, the 4 agreements, right? Oh. That started with Doug. There was things in my life that I wasn't doing. I wasn't living out. And Doug was there to say, "But are you doing this? Are you approaching it in this way?" Like, and he helped me take that honest assessment of myself. And there's times that Rob has done that for me. I've done it for Rob. I've done it for Doug, right? And we came around each other to build each other up and to help to encourage each other, right? Rob and I, what Doug is talking about, we rib on him about, signing him up for a 5K and come and join us on a 50-mile bike race and all this stuff. But underneath that is this care for Doug, knowing that he wants to change, he needs to change, and we're here to walk alongside.
I almost said, all right, I'll sign up for my goal is to do a 5K, but that's stupid. I'm just say you got me there almost, Zach. I was like, yeah, Zach, hell yeah, I'm gonna sign up one day for. I'll get back to you on that.
You're gonna do it. You're gonna do it. No, but there's truth in that. That applies to our business. That applies to our personal life. If you want to talk about shifting into a healthier mindset, it starts with a goal, right? So when I first lost all my weight and all of a sudden figured out I could run, it was like, okay, now what? Right? And how many times are we like that in business? Like, okay, we had a good year. Like, I didn't lose money. I'm in the black this year.
Right.
Now what?
Yeah.
Right. And it starts with a goal. And so you might be joking about a 5K, but the best way to force yourself into action and to force yourself in a direction is goal setting. Remember at the beginning of the episode, and if you tuned in late, all of these things we've been talking about for months tie into each other. And so if you want to be able to take an honest assessment, it also requires having some goals to improve after you've taken the honest assessment.
Yeah.
And it helps if you had some goals beforehand, but if not, it's okay. It's never too late to actually set some goals, but you got to look inside yourself, inside your business, and figure out what direction you want to head. There you go. There you go. Eric said he'll do it with you.
It's just this is not community. No, this is community right here. This is
Eric might be coming to do that 50-mile race with me this summer.
Nice. And Eric said something about SOPs. I mean, everything is pie in the sky until you put a plan in place. Like if you wanted to lose weight or get to a certain level of health with your body, you can't just say, I'm going to work really hard at it. You just can't. So I'm going to just tell you right now, hard to evaluate your business if it's not consistently running. So consistency starts with SOPs. It was literally the first thing that I did when I started running the business, and for the wrong reasons to start with. It was like, holy crap, I'm in charge. I don't even know how anything works here. So I was like, do we have any standard operating procedures? No, we don't. I was like, it was like a light bulb went off. I was like, yes. Because I was like, this is so cool. I had everybody that's in charge of different areas create their own SOPs, right? Yes. I had everyone create their own SOPs, and then we reviewed them together, and it was so easy to do. And then from there, I realized I didn't have to learn all of these things and be experts at them. I just had to make sure that the procedure was consistent and sound. And every time there's a hiccup or a challenge or a problem, we just adjusted the SOP. SOPs is number one in your business. If you don't know how your business is doing, if you feel like you're kind of on a boat and it's just rocking around, start with SOPs and make it really simple. I've said this 1,000 times on here, man. Open a Google spreadsheet, put the bullet points up, and just step one, this, step two, that, step, and then just put it away. And the next time you're doing that procedure or someone's doing the procedure, have them pull it out and add more steps. And it's done. It's done. It can be refined later, but it is done. And now you have a new person in that spot. How many of you had that experience happen where you've hired people and now all of a sudden they're gone? They quit. They had to get fired. They leveled up. They moved on to the road or whatever. You got to start all over again. Not really. Not with SOP. So Eric's got the first one down right there.
And it starts with you, right? Like,
Absolutely.
it starts with you writing these SOPs, and then you give SOP duties and responsibilities to people that are handling those responsibilities. They begin to update them. They're going to see things differently than you. An absolute best appliance, JT is a fantastic business owner. Love the guy to death. Not a great technician. He's not a terrible technician, but he's not a great technician.
Yeah.
Eric is an amazing technician.
Yes.
He is very smart when it comes to the technical side and teaching the technical side.
Yep.
And probably for a good 2.5 years, I was going, JT, he's your lead tech. Give him responsibility. Let him do the stuff for you. Yep. Let him begin to create the process. Let him begin to train the people. That's his gift.
Yep.
Let him do it. Let him help you. Right?
Yep.
As soon as he stopped fighting it, they started having progress in that area.
Yep.
If you want high performers in your business, listen, if you're a one-man show and you only want to be 2 or 3 guys, that's fine. But you still want rock stars in your business. You don't want to be running around babysitting and creating more work. I think that if we take an honest assessment, most people who are one-man shows are afraid of leadership or afraid that they are going to have to babysit people because they came from a company of dysfunction. Been there, done it, understand it. I get it. But if you're recruiting A players and then you're giving them responsibility, much like JT did for Eric, you don't have to run around babysitting it because you've empowered them to live in their world. And again, that's taking an honest assessment of yourself, of your business, and realizing this is not my strong suit,
right,
but I do have this person, or I can recruit this person who is strong in this, right? And that's all a piece of that. And it starts with SOPs. Write down your stuff and then pass on that responsibility to those that you hire on.
Yep. Love it. Certainly gives you a firm foundation to be able to evaluate your business, which tie it all together, to know your numbers and to be able to track your numbers backwards and anticipate what you think the market is moving forward, and using your intuition and your data to make next level steps for your business. So what is your next level steps? That's what we should talk about next week. I know some other guys on the chat will kind of have interaction with the audience, but I'd love to hear what next level ideas you guys have in your business, and what steps do you think you'd have to put in place to make them happen. And I'd love to brainstorm that out next week if that was something that was in the cards. So
I was a little bit slow, but I fired off to Adam, my tidy Kale. He has an issue in his business, and he asked for my help in something that I'm strong in and can help him in. And so find that person, to Doug's point from earlier, find that person that can help you take that assessment to help push you to the next level. If you don't know where to start with goals, talk to Doug, talk to me. We're willing to help you begin to set up these next level goals.
Yeah. What's fun about brainstorm session is we're all going to come from a different perspective. We're all in a different place, and our next steps,
totally different.
They're different, but they're all going to be handled the same exact way. It's evaluation, intuition, idea, steps to put in place. And then you just make that first step a good and easy one, right? That's the momentum that builds when you can say, all right, the first 5 steps is this, and you can bang 3 out in a row. It's not so overwhelming, got to trick the mind a little bit.
If you're like me, and Saul's joking about it in the comments, but if you're like me and you're not great at starting with an SOP, you have no idea where to start, servicealliancegroup.com. We have an entire library for our all access members that is free to download. They are great starting points, and you get the wisdom of Mike and TK and EJ guys.
If you don't have a workout one, I'll make my rudimentary one, since I've never worked out in my life, and then I'll submit it to see if Service Alliance will accept it as an SOP. All right.
Oh, I got one, buddy. You just may not like the outcome. You saw that picture. You just may not like the outcome.
No. I don't want that.
And for our all access members, the next mastermind, February 15th, social and low cost marketing. I hate the title, but it's hitting what we're talking about. There's a lot of free or low cost things that you can do to market your business, whether you're 1 man, 5 men, 20 men. There's a lot of things that you can do that are free or low cost. And we're going to kind of dive through that and help you assess where you are currently in that next.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it, buddy.
Oh no, it's written well. He's just not gonna like the outcome of
as long as there's a donut if there's like a donut bite at each break point, then I'm good with it.
I'm gonna add you to the healthy chat and force you to be encouraged.
Yeah, good. Bring me in. I need the help.
All right, guys. We love you. We will see you next week on the grind. Mike and Jason are back tomorrow on the morning grind. We'll see you next time, guys. Have a good day.
Bye, guys.